Hi everyone, this is All At The One here. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm just going to be having a little discussion on a subject that I've debated with many people. Today we're going to be looking at tents versus tarps. Now I think the best way to figure out which one's more appropriate and which one's more useful is to analyse it in terms of benefits and disadvantages. So as I said, it's best to analyse it in terms of advantages and disadvantages. Now let's start off with the tent, which is what I normally use. I have used hammocks, and I have used tarps and sleeping on the ground. Now, the advantages of a tent. The first advantage is that it's a lot warmer than any other setup pretty much. Obviously as a bushcrafter, I've built bushcraft shelters before, and you know, they're more comfortable than a tent generally. However, if you're trekking or moving around a lot, or are simply on a short stay, then building a shelter every time isn't appropriate, because you know, because of time constraints and the work you have to put into it, and it's just not convenient basically. So I'm a great believer in tents. So let's see the advantages of a tent. So just to summarise, tents are warmer, easier to set up. Another good thing about a tent is that you can pretty much set it up in any environment, any terrain, and you don't need anything else because you know it stands alone. Another advantage of a tent is that if it has an inner tent with a mesh made out of mesh, then it's also insect proof to some extent. So it just keeps all the biting insects off you, which can be really annoying and kind of weigh you down a little bit. So at least while you're sleeping, you know, you don't have to worry about them. Now let's talk about some of the disadvantages of a tent. Disadvantages of a tent: if you're on very boggy ground and you know, it's possible for the water to leak in over the bathtub bottom of your tent basically. Now you'd have to be in pretty seriously boggy ground for that to happen. You could always elevate it by creating some kind of stand, but obviously that's not practical. Another disadvantage of a tent is that, you know, it takes a little bit more maintenance. You have to make sure it's clean on the inside to prevent dust and dirt kind of rubbing against the bottom and creating holes. Tents are also prone to mildew if you don't air them out properly when you get home, so obviously that's more time. It's time consuming airing it out and cleaning the tent. Now let's look at the hammock and tarpaulin setup. Let's see the advantage of that. You know, many people state that, oh, you know, that's a very lightweight setup. However, I'd say that if you've got a lightweight tent, then it's not going to weigh much more than your tent setup anyway. Maybe half a kilo. If that's a big deal for you, then obviously I'd recommend the hammock. Other advantages of a hammock you can set them up so that you can, sorry, I just saw some deer over there, trying to capture some on camera, and I'll get round to it eventually, but they move very quietly, so it's difficult sometimes. So as I was saying, with a hammock you can set up between two trees, so you're elevated off the ground, so that keeps, you know, the crawling insects away. Obviously you're isolated from the ground as well, so your body's not losing heat to the ground. You're losing heat, a lot of heat to the air, unfortunately. Other advantages of a hammock: sorry, just got some more deer running past. Let's see, other advantages of a hammock: relatively low maintenance compared to a tent. You don't have to bother about airing it out so much, and even if you do, it dries very quickly. So yeah, so there's a slight weight saving with a hammock, and another advantage is obviously if the ground is boggy or marshy, then you're flying high above it, so it won't affect you. So I suppose a hammock is good in kind of like boggy situations where the ground's going to be very wet. Now let's look at some of the disadvantages of a hammock. Obviously it doesn't give you much protection from the wind. That's why you always need to use it in conjunction with a tarpaulin in inclement weather. You know, you have a kind of tarpaulin in this kind of arrangement over the hammock, keeping you dry. However, that arrangement is never going to be as warm as a tent. I stated in an old review of mine, when I was reviewing the UCO original candle lantern, I stated in there that, you know, a candle inside the tent will bring the temperature up a couple of degrees, and you know, that's not possible in a hammock. Last night actually I was you know, measuring the temperature outside and inside the tent with a candle lit inside the tent. I had my mini UCO candle lantern, which you can see a review of if you like. It's on my channel. I'll put a link up here somewhere. Yeah, as I said, I measured the temperature outside and inside the tent, and there was actually a 4 degrees centigrade difference, and that is actually quite considerable. Obviously it cuts out the wind chill as well. So inside a tent with a candle lit and your own body heat, plus the fact that the wind is cut out, you know, you'll be considerably warmer. You know, potentially you could be like 10 degrees warmer than the outside temperature, sorry. And let's talk a little bit about the tarpaulin setup, just lying on the ground. What are the benefits of that? Obviously you're definitely going to get a weight saving there, you know, as in you lie a tarpaulin flat on the floor and then you have another tarpaulin covering it. As I said, there'll definitely be a weight saving there, unless of course you're carrying, many people do carry ski poles or basher poles and set their tarpaulin up using those. But then again, I just think if you're going to go to the trouble of having tarpaulin and poles and ropes, then why not simply just use a tent, make it a bit more convenient for yourself. You know, save time setting up your shelter, and you know, it just enables you to enjoy the outdoors more. Obviously the wind isn't going to be cut out completely as it is in a tent with a tarpaulin, and driving rain can even enter under your tarpaulin dome, and obviously you've got no protection from insects either. Anything can crawl on you or fly onto you and bite you. you know, for me, coming out into the wild isn't about survival every time. You know, I just like to enjoy the outdoors and the peace and quiet, basically. So yeah, so you've got your three main types of shelter there. You've got your tent, your tarpaulin on the ground, or your tarpaulin with a hammock underneath it. As I said, I've had many debates with people about which is best, and etc, etc. So I'd be interested to hear other people's opinions, so we can actually come to some kind of conclusion on what is actually the best bushcraft stroke wilderness shelter. I'm going to put my vote in for the tent. I'll add up, let's have a vote on it actually. In the comment box below, please leave your vote and say whether you prefer tents, tarpaulins or hammocks, and please give me your reasons, and I'll kind of compile all the data at the end and do another video on it for the conclusion, basically. Yeah, I'm always going to stick with tents, really. You know, possibly if you're in kind of a tropical jungle environment, then or even an arid kind of environment, I could see a benefit in having a hammock. Obviously it keeps you off the ground if it's soggy. Yeah, so I think that's it for tents versus tarps. This is all outdoor one here. I hope you guys find that interesting. I'm looking forward to hearing your comments and your votes. Hope to hear from you soon. Take care for now. Bye bye.